Jessup winner. They're coming back for tomorrow. The loser, they are all done walking out of here with $500. They'll be joining Ross Merriam, Hunter Nance, and Rudy Briska. Unfortunately, those three players, their tournament is over, and we'll see which one of these players stays alive and moves into single elimination for tomorrow. Season 2 Invitational Champion, that's Aintrazi. Season 3 Points Champion, that's Danny Jessup. They're underway here. It's a Tendo Icebridge into an Inquisition of Kozlek. Take a look at Danny Jessup's hand here. There's a Jace, there's a Tassiger, and Ali going to get a better look at things. And I think, as you said for Ali, it's all about getting surgical extraction and taking care of Kolaghan's command.
If he gets the Kolaghan's command right here and has a surgical extraction as a follow-up, I think he's a huge favorite to win this game.
The hand here for Danny, 2 Kolaghan's commands, a Thoughtseize, a Tassiger, a Jace, and a couple of lands there in Watery Grave, and Sulphur Falls, it appears. Might be a fetch land there. Don't have a great look at it. But we'll see what Ali does want to take.
Another issue in this matchup, I think, for Aintrazi is once Jace flips, the game goes on for so long that Jessup going all the way to the ultimate is a realistic option.
Yeah. Well, there goes Jace. Aintrazi's hand looks very land-heavy, honestly. Strange-looking hand for the Lantern control player.
Most of them are.
They all are pretty strange. You are correct about that. I like that Lantern Control is the one deck that just completely nerfs your professionalism. You just can't stop laughing at everything that happens.
It's not. It is disingenuous to act like this is a normal game of Magic that we're watching.
An Abrupt Decay, an Ensnaring Bridge, and a couple of lands here. You got a Forest, a Ghost Quarter, and a copy of Glimmervoid. Those are the cards that Jessup will write down, and he'll select one of those two in just a moment.
I mean, I guess his hand's a keep. It's a pretty messy looking hand, but most of them are.
Again, the thing is with this deck, and I don't have a ton of experience in Lantern Control. We've only got to watch it a couple of times. I don't know what the snap keeps are with this deck. Talking to Sam Black at the Invitational last weekend, he's just like, yeah, I just had the perfect hand. I'm like, I don't know what that would consist of.
Well, the problem in this matchup is Aintrazi has to weather the storm of a lot of removal, especially the copies of Kolaghan's command. So we can't really mulligan looking for the best possible hand because raw card count is going to be an issue.
There's a Forest for Ali. He'll pass the turn back over to Jessup. Jessup will draw a card. Again, Danny with 2 copies of Kolaghan's command in hand. That card's so important in this matchup. Might be time for another discard spell here, perhaps. And there is Inquisition. Quick update for you guys. Jonathan Morowski already up a game. So, again, if we have time to jump to our backup match, we will.
It's a fast matchup.
It is.
Someone's got to go.
Yeah. And there's a Scalding Tarn. Pass the turn back over to Aintrazi. Will Jessup. Aintrazi will draw. Blackleaf Cliffs, and simply a passing of the turn. I think the grip might just be all lands here for Ali.
Yep. It's not like it would be a whole lot better if there were spells in there. So.
Yeah, that's fair. Steam Vents here for Jessup.
For Aintrazi, a win here would represent a pretty big comeback, given the rough start he had during the Legacy portion.
Yeah, 0-3 through the Legacy portion with Imperial Painter. And now his back against the wall in an elimination match with Lantern. Blood Crypt the draw here for Jessup. And a copy of Blackleaf Cliffs in hand as well. There is the Cliffs. And we could just see a Tassiger here.
Yeah, just get a clock on the table. Jessup has a lot of protection against his Ensnaring Bridge coming off the top because he still has the 2 copies of Kolaghan's command in hand.
The draw here for Aintrazi, I think it was it was the
nice.
Yeah, it's the Aether Grid. It was the Aether Grid. There it is.
Lantern Control, don't ever change.
Yeah. Here comes Tassiger. Aintrazi will fall down to 16. Blood Crypt will enter the battlefield untapped.
So with only 2 artifacts in play, if he can get him past the 2 shatters, he gets a Prodigal Sorcerer.
It's true.
It's pretty close.
That is very accurate. Well, there's an Ancient Stirrings, which can find the first artifact. Aintrazi will take a look at a couple of cards here. He's found 2 Lantern of Insight. He'll take 1.
Step 1.
Yeah. Having a tough time keeping it together here, aren't you?
Yeah.
Here's a land over waste. There is the lantern.
I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, you got to get on board with something.
Top card now is a lightning bolt. Glimmer Void on Aintrazi's side. Tassiger will go active. Lightning Bolt will go in the graveyard, as will Serum Visions. And the top card is revealed here, so Jessup will get one of those cards back. And a Lightning Bolt going to go back to the grip. So back to Danny Jessup, we're going to go. He'll draw a Swamp. Top card of the deck is a Sulphur Falls. Tassiger getting some real work done. Going to come across in the red zone yet again. Aintrazi has a Glimmer Void on top of his deck. That'll be the draw step for the turn. Next is an Ensnaring Bridge. And it looks like he might just pass the turn back.
Well, he can't put the Glimmer Void into play because he knows that Jessup can go ahead and just shatter the lantern if he's feeling so inclined.
Sulphur Falls and Serum Visions go to the graveyard from the Tasker activation. So either Serum Visions or Jace will go back to Jessup and Polluted Delta on top of the deck. So Visions will go back. And now Jessup will untap all those permanents. I believe Polluted Delta will be the draw, though there's the potential for Jessup to activate Tasker right now. But he'll take Polluted Delta as a draw step. Top card, after that, a Tar Pit.
I imagine that Jessup here just wants to be able to kill the Ensnaring Bridge on curve, so no reason to do anything with the Tassiger.
Here comes Serum Visions. And Tar Pit's the draw. Now it's time for Jessup to scry.
Yeah, the top card is revealed, but not the second card.
It sure is fun scrying and all of this stuff with Lantern on the battlefield. It does get a little confusing at times. Reminds you of Courser and Temples and stuff like that.
Except much worse because Aintrazi might stop you at a moment's notice and do something with the information.
It's very true. Here comes Tasker again. Aintrazi is down to 8.
I think with the Bolt and the 2 Kolaghan's commands, we're going to be wrapping this one up in a moment.
And Snaring Bridge is not going to help very much. Top card is a Pyrite Spellbomb.
Also not great for the battle against Tassiger.
As you said, Rome was not built in a day. And Aintrazi appears to be conceding the game. Not exactly how he drew up game number 1 here with his Lantern control.
I love the sheepish mucking of the cards there. It wasn't a dramatic concession. Wasn't really going in the tank there. Just wanted to quietly and peacefully pick up his cards and go to the next one.
Danny Jessup will win game number 1 here over Ali Aintrazi. Even Ali letting out a little laugh there. That game did not go the way that he wanted it to, as Grixis Control is up a game here over Lantern Control, which means we'll turn our attention to the sideboards here, and given that you are a Lantern expert, we'll go over these cards here with 2 Grafdigger's Cage, a Pithy Needle, 2 Welding Jar, 3 Leyline of Sanctity, a Quiet Disrepair, a Galvanic Blast, 2 Dangerous Claims, and 3 Pyroclasms.
The Pyroclasms might have to come in this matchup because Jace Vryn's Prodigy is such a problem. I also think the 2 Welding Jars are a fine card to bring in the face of all the copies of Kolaghan's Command.
On the other side of things here for Jessup, an Engineer Explosives, an Instant Static Caster, a Blood Moon, a Counter Squall, 2 Dispels, 3 Molten Rain, 2 Vandal Blasts, and Painful Truths, Liliana of the Veil, an Anger of the Gods, and a Dreadbore.
All right, well, there's a bunch of busted cards for this matchup here. Painful Truths can come in. The 2 copies of Vandal Blast, the Counter Squall, the Blood Moon, the Engineered Explosives. I don't know if Danny was necessarily trying to win this matchup, but he has a lot of excellent cards in the sideboard. A lot of Shatters, a lot of 2-for-1s.
Now, Patrick, before we do take a look at the Season 1 schedule of the SCG Tour for 2016, I'd like to quiz you on your knowledge of cards and dare you to tell me what Quiet Disrepair does.
I think it is some sort of 2-mana disenchant. Where am I at?
We can look at the tape here.
Let's go to the tape.
I might be able to give you 2-mana Disenchant and Quiet Disrepair.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of counts. Yeah, that counts.
I might be able to give it to you. It's close. You know what? Since I'm such a nice guy, I think I can give it to you.
It's within the margin of error, I will say. I didn't have exactly what it did because, why is this in the sideboard instead of something else? I don't know, but I had the right idea.
Follow-up question. What set is it from?
That I'm design this wonky's probably from Future Sight.
Can you tell me That's okay. I think that is Future Sight. What set? It's also from, just so that you know, Plane Chase 2012.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you were correct, by the way. It's base set is Future Sight. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, it's a bizarre enough design where you have to furrow your brow and read it a second time. Usually that means Future Sight.
That's the dead giveaway.
Future Sight or Antiquities. Those are the two.
I promise it was not the latter. We take a look now at the schedule for Season 1 next year. It did start in December last weekend at our Las Vegas Invitational, where Brian Braun finally won his first Open.
Congratulations to him. Once we hit January, we start off the year with a couple of modern Opens in Cincinnati and Charlotte, then Standard in Atlanta and Columbus, then the regionals. Go.starcitygames.com/regionals for more information. The format is modern, and we have just announced the venues, so check out the website. Find the regional championship closest to you. Modern in Louisville, Legacy in Philadelphia. After that, a Standard Open in Indianapolis and Baltimore, and then the Season 1 Invitational in Columbus, Ohio, April 15th through the 17th with Standard and Modern as the invitational formats.
And as we do get ready for all of those Opens, if you do sign up for one of those Opens, pretty simple stuff. You know the drill by now. You will get a special playmat, and it will be Kitchen Links. Get it?
There, Lynx is playing in the kitchen.
See? That's just great design.
That's so easy. Free with any entry into any of the Season 1 Open events. Get it on site. Not limited to the first X people who register. So come out to the Opens, get your hands on this playmat.
Whoever thought of that, I'll make sure they get a raise. Great work. Because I could never think of that. So, because I just don't work. Puns, that's not me.
Animal puns.
Yeah, I just can't do it. I don't have it in me.
I think that kitchen links is something I could have come up with. I think Penguillian Click.
Never.
Over an infinite timeline, I would have never come up with that pun.
Me either.
No.
I don't have it in me. It's just not how my brain works. It's like this Lantern Control deck. Over an infinite timeline, as you said, I could never think of this deck.
I would also never think of this deck. Never.
Not in a million billion years.
What are the four ofs here? Codex Shredder, Ghoul Caller's Bell, Lantern of Insight, Llanowar Waste.
Boom.
And Ancient Stirrings and Inquisition Mox Opal. A couple powerful and regular Magic cards.
I would never even consider putting discard in this deck. I'd try to put like some Fabricates in here or something, and it would just be bad.
Well, he needs to punch a hole for some of these artifacts to get into play. You need some discard spells to clear out the Abrupt Decays and Kolakon's commands.
No, it all makes sense.
On top of that, it pairs very nicely with Surgical Extraction, because a lot of your opponents are only going to have one way to interact with the combo or one way to interact with the Ensnaring Bridge, so going after their hands. Also, what else are you going to put in those slots? Some more one-mana artifacts that don't do anything?
I don't know, Serum Visions?
You got room. Well, you can't cast that off of Blackcleave Cliffs or Llanowar Waste, so you have to rejigger the mana base.
It's just typically when I think of these artifact-esque decks, I think of just blue cards immediately.
Yeah, that's why this deck's so funny to me. It's, Llanowar Waste, green and black, known for their artifact synergies.
Yeah.
It's a pile of artifacts.
Yep. I'm always going to be a fan of this Lantern Control deck. Aintrazi got mushed to that last game. Let's see if he can actually put something together this game. We want to see Lantern in action, Ali. Deciding if he's going to keep his opening hand right now. Remember, this is a Grand Prix winning deck. Zach Elsek winning Grand Prix Oklahoma City with this deck.
Yeah.
Beating Brian Braun in the finals.
It has a resume of suffering.
It will make you suffer. Grafdigger's Cage is where Ollie's going to start. Now here's a copy of Mox Opal, as we've just been informed. Then our backup match, Tom Ross versus Jonathan Morawski. That's Zoo versus Byrne. They're going to game number 3. Again, if we have time to jump that way, which we won't, we will. A Polluted Delta here from Jessup. Going to go down to at least 19, maybe even less. His life total, I suppose, doesn't really matter, so he can just aggressively search up these Ravnica Shocklands.
Yeah, Aintrazi's not really taxing him with Girapar, Aether Grid, or Recursive Pyrite Spell Bombs. You can just get your mana into play.
For Jessup, it's an Inquisition. The grip here for Aintrazi's got a copy of Ghost Quarter, a Pithing Needle, a Codex Shredder, and a Glimmer Void.
Well, with Jason's Prodigy in hand, I imagine this will be Pithing Needle. You can allow Aintrazi, I suppose, to keep the Codex Shredder for the time being.
I think for the next Modern tournament, I'm just going to make you play this deck.
Someone loans me the cards, man. I'm in.
Oh, yes. You can put him into what you like to call the Hurt Locker.
Mm-hmm. The chokehold.
Yeah. There goes the needle. Over to Aintrazi we're going to go. He's found a discard spell. So, there's Inquisition. We'll see what Jessup is working with here in just a moment. A Jace, a Kolagon's Command, a Serum Visions, and a couple of lands here. In Sulphur Falls, Polluted Delta, and Bloodstained Mire.
So now at least Aintrazi is drawing to the Surgical Extraction if he wants to get the Kolagon's Command out of there. And then he kind of has to beat him straight up, which is pretty hard to do. But without Surgical Extraction in hand, he may play it safe and just get rid of Jace.
Well, not sure what Ali wants to take here in this situation.
I just really like Aintrazi looking back at his hand of cards and then saying, oh, right, Codex Shredder, never mind. Something may have fell here?
Yeah, I'm not sure what actually happened here. We will, of course, ask our table spotter.
I thought I saw Ensnaring Bridge fall out, but then I thought maybe that was just some hallucination from my fever dreams here. But now with Aintrazi stopping and pointing the ground, I think that might have happened.
Well, we're going to come back to the booth because we're going to find out soon enough what the heck's going on there, because that's a coverage first. Never seen that before.
The fallen card.
Well, I think a card fell. I don't even know.
Like I said, I thought I caught a glimpse of one of Ali's white-bordered Ensnaring Bridges falling. I'm not sure if that was in his deck. I'm not sure if there's some issue with the sideboard now. Judges there, they'll get it resolved in a moment.
Yeah, and of course, when we do know exactly what did happen, we will, of course, update you guys. On our backup matches, we did mention Jonathan Morawski playing Burn against Tom Ross, playing Zoo. Those players in game number 3. We'll probably have an update for you guys on what happened in game number 3 in a few moments here, as that matchup does not take very long. In your experiences, Burn a little bit faster than the Zoo deck?
A little bit faster and a little bit harder to interact with, because you're at the mercy of the top of their deck, and they can interact with your creatures the whole game. Tom has 2 copies of Lightning Helix in the main deck and 2 more on the sideboard. That's a lot more than I've typically had for the Burn matchup. And if you land a Lightning Helix, you have a really good shot of winning the game because your creatures are sustaining points of damage. The problem is on a short timeline, Lava Spikes are a lot more efficient than Card Apes. But if those Lightning Helixes allow Tom to stretch the game out some, he can take advantage of his creatures.
And of course, that matchup does not take very long. I always find it kind of interesting in that particular matchup if you're supposed to aggressively search for your shocklands to just kind of get yourself on the table, or if you're supposed to just make them deal 1 to you, but then if you're slow out of the gate, then that gives them more turns. I never really know what quite to do in that matchup.
My approach, your hands are going to guide this to some extent. In some hands, you just have to go get your 2 dual lands and hope that that's good enough. You find 1 color to go get, maybe a Stomping Ground first, and try to find a window to get your other dual land into play tapped.
Sure. Well, Inquisition is going to select Kolagon's Command. And apparently, you nailed it. Ensnaring Bridge just fell out of his deck while shuffling. I fixed it, and now we're good.
So now Aintrazi with a 1-turn window here to draw Surgical Extraction and get something good going on.
There's a Codex Shredder.
Look at that crew.
Well, for what it's worth, Grafdigger's Cage on the battlefield, so you can't recast the...
Oh, sure. Yeah,
the
no,
Kolagon's Command.
Yep. Cage is very solid here.
Yeah. There's Jace. Who's the Codex Shredder going to shred? Self. Bridge down. We go back Ali's way. There's a Ghost Quarter.
Although more bad news here for Aintrazi is I believe Jessup has Liliana the Veil, and that just plussing and going ultimate is also...
That seems hard to beat.
It is also trouble.
Yeah.
And Jace flipping over and then plussing and also going ultimate is also problematic.
Also seems hard to beat.
Could potentially be setting up for the flawless victory. No permanence, no deck.
Maybe. Now, Ali's been putting people through hell this week on Lantern Control. Perhaps the tables have turned.
Perhaps.
Mill you, make you discard, sacrifice all your permanents. Jace going to go active. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. We got something to play to now.
That's a Vandal Blast, huh? I wouldn't discard that one.
We'll come back to that later.
Okay. Jessup will discard a Polluted Delta. Jace is going to flip. It'll start on 5. And now I believe it's time for Liliana.
And now Jessup might, I mean, his lands are very valuable, as is the Vandal Blast. Maybe he discards the Serum Visions here?
If he discards the Serum Visions, I feel like if I'm Ollie, my chances of winning are very low.
Yeah.
Jason and Liliana both going to tick up, pass the turn back over to Aintrazi. Codex Shredder time, perhaps? Nope, just going to draw a card. Let's see what this is. Ancient Stirrings. Some redraws here. Pithing Needle, actually a pretty big one.
Yep, it's something.
Trying to get the House of Cards together.
Problem with the Needle here, there's two. One is both of the Planeswalkers are quite threatening. Ollie needs to answer both of them. Second, if the game slows down, then Jessup can pivot and start working towards Vandal Blast.
Yeah, I think if you're Ollie in this situation, Jace is somewhat threatening, but not completely threatening because, again, can't recast spells from the graveyard because of the cage. So for me, I just want to shut down Liliana if I'm Ollie in this situation.
Well, the other side of it is Jessup has cards in hand and Ollie doesn't. And Jace going Ultimate is a threat here as well.
Very true. Very true. He'll name Liliana for now. Looks like Jessup going to play a Serum Vision, since that was his draw step for the turn.
And if I'm Jessup, now all I'm trying to do is chain together lands 4 and 5.
Yep. Looks like maybe Pia and Kieran were the draw there. Kolagon's Command among the cards Danny has found. As we do have our update here, Jonathan Morawski does win his match over Tom Ross. 2-1. So he'll have a bye tomorrow as well, right into the quarterfinals. Very impressive stuff for him. An unknown coming in.
For the least known quantity, I suppose him and Bestecky being the two that probably had the most mystery around them. Very good performance on day one for Morawski.
Now, of course, Tom will still be in a day 2. He'll just be into the wild card. No bye for him.
That match is still huge. I mean,
absolutely.
You lock in the top 8 payout.
Another Serum Visions here.
I think Aintrazi may be contemplating something with the Codex Shredder because Jessup scried 1 card to the top.
Looking to get him. All right, that's fine. Thought Scour the draw. A couple of cards here in Molten Rain.
Sure.
And Kolagon's Command. Jessup will have to figure out where he wants to put these cards, but as you mentioned, he's really got something to work towards there in the Vandal Blast.
He's got several things to work towards, too. Again, I worry that Aintrazi can't really beat a Jace Emblem. His deck kills way too slowly.
Up to 7 goes the Jace. You might just see him cast Vandal Blast right now. A little surprised by this?
Well, if he wants to get rid of the cage, I suppose if he doesn't have a land coming and he wants to make sure he's flashing back Kolagon's Command next turn, this is fine. But like I said, if I was in Jessup's position, I would be taking a slightly different approach to this game. I'd be trying to get to 5 mana to overload the Vandal Blast, and I would be trying to generate a Jace Emblem. That would be my route here.
Aintrazi will draw a card.
I just don't think Aintrazi can beat either one of those things. Now, it's still going to be hard for him to beat Jace flashing back a bunch of Kolagon's commands, but I don't know if the emblem is something that Aintrazi can really handle given how slowly his deck kills.
The Molten Rain the draw. And Jace going to go down. Kolagon's Command appears as the target. We'll see what modes are selected here with the Kolagon's Command. I think it's destroy target artifact and. Just curious what the and will be. Wouldn't be surprised if it's just discard a card since Aintrazi has 1.
It looks like it's just a shock.
Okay. Liliana can just take care of the card.
Yeah, if he's plusing anyway.
And the draw for the turn for Ollie was a Mox Opal. Codex Shredder. That'll mill over. Oh, look, another Kolaghan's command.
Pretty easy to beat.
Aintrazi will draw. This is a Lantern. All right. And Snaring Bridge on top. Serum Vision's on top here for Jessup. Serum Vision's the draw. Top card here for Jessup is a Polluted Delta. I think he's got some interest in lands here. At least one more, maybe two. There is Serum Visions. That'll resolve. Polluted Delta to the grip. Time to scry. Snapcaster Mage is one of them. The other one is a copy of Creeping Tar Pit, it appears.
So I think Jessup here is, I would imagine he's planning on holding the Molten Rain here in the event that Academy Ruins shows up. I think that's Aintrazi's only hope of being able to slog through everything here. Now with the Ghost Core tap, he might just snap it off in the Glimmer Void, I guess.
That's reasonable.
Although I suppose if he's building towards a Liliana ultimate, maybe he just doesn't even have to bother with that.
For me, I like the Liliana ultimate of, if he goes that route, a turn from now of just lands versus the stuff that's on the battlefield.
Right.
Lands versus artifacts. Here's Shredder. Bridge down. Top card, Llanowar Waste. Aintrazi will untap. He'll mill his Llanowar Waste with a Shredder. And the draw step will be Academy Ruins. After that is a Glimmer Void. Academy Ruin's going to enter the battlefield. And we could see Jessup maybe recast the Molten Rain now.
Maybe just go ultimate with Liliana this turn.
Yeah, and then decide after that.
Yeah.
He's got a real stranglehold on this game, that's for sure. Jessup will draw the Creeping Tar Pit. That's a way for him to win. Next card after that is Snapcaster Mage. Also a way to win.
I suppose he can also just cast Pia Kira Nalar this turn, plus the Liliana, put the Creeping Tar Pit in play, plus a Liliana, plus the Jace, and then be able to go ultimate with Liliana next turn and keep it in play.
When you have this many routes, life is pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of very good options here for Jessup.
Well, Jessup going to search up a swamp here with the Delta. New card coming on top. We'll see what it is here in just a moment from the Lantern. A Blackcleave Cliffs. There's the Tar Pit. Here comes Pia and Kieran. And I think we might see the play that you just mentioned.
Just plus the Planeswalkers and be able to ultimate Liliana and flashback spells with Jace next turn, or, whatever. all ends up in the same place, I think.
I think all roads lead to day number 2 here for Danny Jessup, unless there's a real string of draws here for Ali Aintrazi.
I don't think there's any path in his graveyard to get something going here.
Yeah, I don't know how much Ruins is going to do in this situation. Even something like Ruins back Pithing Needle, it's only a temporary solution.
Especially now that Jessup is threatening to simply flash back a Vandal Blast. He's got 5 lands in play now.
True, too. Yeah, Ali wants to take a look at the graveyard. You're not going to like what he sees. There's all good tools down there. Vandal Blast, Serum Vision. Some discard spells which don't play a role in things. Molten Rain if he wants to take care of the Academy Ruins. Needle going to go on top. That'll be the draw step here for Aintrazi. Glimmer Void will be the top card yet again. And now he'll play the Needle. We'll get confirmation on what that's going to name. You have to imagine one of these two Planeswalkers. And I suppose in this instance you could just say, I'll name Jace so that you can't recast the Vandal Blast.
It at least forces Jessup's hand to use the Liliana ultimate.
Yeah.
Before he can get much going.
But again, in this instance, if I'm Danny in this spot, I really like Liliana ultimate and saying artifacts versus lands. And make Ali decide what's more important.
Yeah, I think that has to be the split. You can't even put the Opal really alongside the lands because then Glimmer Void stays around. Mm-hmm. So I think lands versus spells is a pretty clear split.
Of course, Danny in a pretty healthy position here, but he's going to tread lightly because day 2's on the line.
It's good to double check. I mean, he knows he's in a commanding position, but he's in the kind of spot where he's over 99% to win. If he's careful, he can make it 100%. Mm-hmm. Then just no reason to do anything sloppy.
In spots like this, you typically see players, when they're this far ahead, they play too fast.
Yep.
I think of Tom Martell, a player who, when he's really far ahead, he actually slows down quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a good habit to get into.
Yeah. Wants to make sure just nothing goes wrong. Now, here's a Liliana ultimate. And Aintrazi might have a response here. We'll find out in just a moment.
You know, he might shuffle someone's deck. Mill someone over. A lot of things he can do in response here. Give it a wash.
We saved the best for last here.
I love it. I'm glad that I got to be in the booth for this one. No, it's a long day. Sometimes your energy can be a little low, but this is refreshing. This is refreshing.
You might have an Academy Ruins activation here. This is going to put, I believe, an Ensnaring Bridge on top of the deck. And Ali's trying to figure out a way to hang on here.
I would not get any fancier here, I think, than lands versus the spells in play.
I just don't know if there's any other... I don't know if there's a better way to break it up. If he wants to keep all of his lands, that's fine. He loses all of his artifacts.
I guess the other route here, which is something that Jessup is taking a look at here, is the 2 critical artifacts and 1 land. Because if he takes either pile, he's either at a dead end, casting an Ensnaring Bridge next turn into the maw of a Vandal Blast, or keeping 1 land alongside 2 artifacts that don't help very much.
Yeah, sure.
I still think that I prefer just lands against artifacts, but this split might also just be fine.
Clearly, Jessup has something else in mind, but again, this is an instance where he just wants to make sure that he wins a game that he is very far ahead in.
I think the split here that Jessup is looking at is if Aintrazi takes land plus Needle plus Lantern, he's basically locked and drawing Ensnaring Bridge he can't do anything with next turn. If he takes the other pile, Aintrazi gets to untap and cast Ensnaring Bridge, but Jessup just gets to flashback Vandal Blast and take care of everything.
Aintrazi going to take a look here at the graveyard, see what his options are. Again, it's a rock and a hard place here.
I almost feel like Aintrazi has to keep the Needle at this point because he cannot beat the Vandal Blast doing it any other way. If that Jace gets to flash back a Vandal Blast, there's just no route here.
So they just want to make sure they know exactly how Liliana will work. It's worded a little bit funny, but you see what Ali is willing to keep here. He'll keep the Codex Shredder, the Mox Opal, and the rest of the stuff. Which means the Needle's gone. And Danny now has access to his Jace again.
Jessup can also flash back the Molten Rain on the Academy Ruins and then leave Aintrazi short on mana to be able to cast the Ensnaring Bridge on top of the deck next turn.
It's a build your own adventure.
There's just a million awesome routes here for Jessup. I don't think any reasonable line of play. Maybe I split the Liliana a little differently. Maybe I do something else with Jace this turn, depending on what Jessup does. But it doesn't really matter all that much. I think Jessup's got a firm control in this game.
Looks like Jace is going down. Vandal Blast looks like it might be the weapon of choice. Kablooey with Overload.
This will cause Aintrazi to also lose his Glimmer Void.
Yes.
And then he's drawing an Ensnaring Bridge with 2 mana.
Not great.
And he doesn't have real magic cards in his deck.
That's also a problem.
Oh, I get the bridge over. That's fine. Fresh draw.
Yeah. Here comes an attack from Jessup.
Hope springs eternal. Don't know what's on top of your deck.
There goes Glimmer Void. Glimmer Void off the top. Not sure he wants that one right now.
I mean, he could Ghost Quarter into colored mana.
That's
a turn.
That is an option. Danny rolling up his sleeves, getting ready to do some dirty work, as if the last turn wasn't enough. There's a Steam Vents untapped. Liliana's going to go up. Glimmer Void down. It could be flawless. It could be.
We're getting close.
Aintrazi.
Just no more.
For once, he will be the one submitting. He will not be submitting someone. As Danny Jessup will win this match over Ali Aintrazi 2-0. Grixis Control will take care of Lantern Control. And for Danny Jessup, a player who missed the Players' Championship by 1 Open Series point and 1 win last year, he qualified this year, and he's in day 2 of competition.
Congratulations. Also, all kidding aside, congratulations to Ali Aintrazi for battling back from a really rough start in the Legacy portion. To battle all the way back to get an opportunity to essentially win it into day 2 after an 0-3 start is excellent. But like I said, I thought this matchup with Kolaghan's command and his ability to recur it was too problematic. And Jessup, he'll be battling in the second day tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I thought that we'd see Ali get the lock in place and be able to stop Danny from casting cards like Kolaghan's Command and Vandal Blast, but that was clearly not the case. Danny had a lot of tools here.
On top of the Snapcaster mages and the